What's happening, guys? This is the People's Dynasty Podcast, and I am your host, not Randall Young. I tried to emulate him as much as I can, but I just don't have the voice for it. I don't have the figure for it. I don't have really anything that he's got going on except for a full head of hair. Still love you, buddy. So Randy is out being the exquisite father that he is. He is down in the southern state of South Carolina watching his son play baseball. He sent me a couple clips. Vin Daddy has already been kicking ass, taking names, which is not a surprise. Takes after young Randall. But I got a host. I got a co-host. I actually have to host, which means it's going to be a dog shit show and it's going to be off the rails, but we are going to have an awesome time. So I am Jerry, the man of the hour, the man with the power, as you may be well aware. The man I am with is not an old friend, not a new friend. He is the friend of the Dynasty WarZone. And a quick story before I get going. I went back to Michigan like 2 weeks ago. Went to go see the fam, and everybody at Player Profiler stayed in my hometown, Pinckney, Michigan. My mom loves me, and I live 600 miles away from her. So the only chance she really gets to see me, she watches the show. Love you, Mom. I appreciate it. We love you. The listeners of Dynasty WarZone know that Mama Sinclair is a fan of the show. But while I was there, she wanted me to exquisitely tell that Matty Kiwoom and none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Theo Greminger, are her two favorite players and people of Player Profiler. So I DM'd you. I let you know. You loved it. You appreciated it. Mama Sinclair, thank you. My co-host today, Matty Kiwoom, the motherfucking magician himself. Matty, talk to me about what you're doing, man. Besides everything, because you're everywhere. I see your face more than I see anybody but my dog and Mrs. Sinclair.
Well, I gotta say, big shout out to Mama Sinclair. That makes your boy feel good. That she's watching and she appreciates when I'm on because it's always a good time. Hopefully, she checked out the gameplay episode we did because that was a blast. A few weeks ago, did crazy numbers, by the way, because apparently the people love us, Jerry. So I'm happy to be on Dynasty WarZone. Working on, I got to get back in the swing of things. To be quite honest, I was out camping with the fam. You might notice a little bit of color in the face. Had a blast.
Looking
drank
great.
My weight in tequila. Had a great time. But now it's time to get back to work. Oh, yeah.
No,
Big
sir.
time.
Listen, there's only three things that happen if you drink tequila. You end up naked, you end up fighting, or you end up naked fighting.
No, I don't know. Your boy has an adverse reaction. I get kind of crazy, got a little loco, a little fun. So had every had my little Yeti cup stacked with tequila for most afternoons. Hanging out in the pool. I'm sitting there to myself, why do I love this camping stuff so much? And it was because you can have a couple drinky poos. And you just play with the kids all day. Just throwing them around the pool. They're laughing, having a good time. You have campfire. You grill all day. It's the best. I will say, though, that, we have a little 24-footer, but it's about 25 years old, so it's good. Gets the job done. But it doesn't have the bells and whistles a lot of these people have. So your boy gets a little stank. I ain't going to lie. You take showers, you go in the pool when you can. But there for 5 days, you come home smelling like smoked tequila.
It's got character. That's what matters.
A little bit.
All right, so today
I smell like I have a little bit of character.
Well, listen. Luckily there's 800 miles between us, so I don't know that. But I just took my dog for a walk, and I'm sweating bullets too, so I'm sure I don't smell great. I am the type of person that when I want to talk this kind of stuff, I just sort of like to wing it. Like I've said 100 times. Like if Randy sends me a show doc, I don't read it because I honestly don't want to prepare. I want him to ask me whatever he's going to ask me, and he's going to get my opinion right off the cuff because I'm not that type of person. And it seems like that's how you are, which is probably why we do so well whenever we get together numbers wise. So you said, what do you want to do? I said, let's talk Scott Fishbowl a little bit. That's, the live drafts have started for a couple of people. I think my MFL draft starts tomorrow. And then we'll just talk startup strategies, since that's essentially just like a regular draft. Because I have opinions on what I want to do and things that I just hate, and I will never do it. So, and I want to pick your brain because I'm a thief. So
I love doing it too.
So how have you done in the Scott Fishbowl, first and foremost?
I've been in it 2 years. I've made the postseason both years. So,
Okay.
so far, so good. I love that he kind of throws different scoring models at you each year. So it's not like a rinse and repeat type draft method. You kind of have to, I feel like if you want to have a good team, you got to get in the streets a little, get some mocks going. But yeah, I've done pretty well the first 2 years. This year, though, I'm in a pretty scary division. Got guys like my man Mike Crystal, the guy from 40 Chess, Tear Down King, Cody, Alan Shazowski, friend of the network. So it's going to be a killer division. So I'm hoping to make it 3 for 3, though. But how have you been? How long you been in Scott Fishbowl, first of all?
I think this is year 5, if I remember right. First year, my first ever pick was Le'Veon Bell, the year that he sat out and didn't play. So that worked out extremely well for me, as you can imagine. I was probably in the bottom 50 of the Scott Fishbowl that year. Second year I did good, made the playoffs, and then I had a couple years in a row where it was like he shifted the scoring a little bit, and everyone's like, punt on wide receiver, and I was like, fuck yeah, that's a good idea, and I did it, and fuck no, it was not a good idea. I should not have done it. So my teams were terrible. So I was like, I'm just going to do a balanced team, because here's the thing: you got to get lucky. When it comes down, like a lot of people can make the playoffs, but when it comes down to it, like you need the explosion, guys. So I can't predict that. I wish I could. This game sucks. It's hard. It makes it hard. So I'm just going to do a balanced team. That's what I've done the last 2 years. I advanced into a couple rounds of the playoffs last year, not this past season, the year before that. I made the semifinals. So that was by far my best run. I'm probably just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to knock off positions as I see it. I've got Casey Joyner, formerly of ESPN, in my league. So got the Mongo division from the movie Blazing Saddles, which is an absolute cinematic masterpiece. And if you have not seen the workings and the comedy genius of Mel Brooks, add it to your repertoire. What pick are you?
106. I chose 106.
You chose one. You're a middle guy.
Well, last year I was in the beginning, and I hate the third round reversal because I think it puts a lot of pressure. Where last year I felt like it was very important to get. And last year my target was Jalen Hurts, so I wanted Jalen Hurts. I put myself at the top of the draft to get Jalen Hurts. This year I wanted to attack the third round reversal a little bit more. But as I was looking at it, with this wrinkle in scoring, I think it's going to be so important to have a Konami code quarterback that I didn't want to go too far back in round 1. So I was like, you know what? We're just going to hit in the middle, and we're going to see how it works. Okay, we're gonna see how this works going in the middle. So, drafted from the 106. I don't know.
In general, are you a middle of the road guy usually?
No, I'm usually like in my redraft strategies, I like to be at the end of round 1. I think the double tap is so important at that first 1-2 turn in redraft. So I like to be towards the end, and then in Dynasty, I want to go as high as I can, because in Dynasty you make trades, right, in the startup. So I want the 101, so that if I want, I can go from the 101 to the 105. I can go from 101 to 108. There's that ultimate flexibility and ultimate kind of activity that you can have in a startup for Dynasty. So I like to be as high as possible in terms of that type of strategies. But yeah, I'm a little nervous about the middle, but with this scoring, I just felt like the middle was safe. What about you? Where are you at?
I'm always an ends guy. Whether it's the beginning or the end, I like to be the guy that starts the run or ends the run, and then I just don't have to worry about it, because I feel like the middle of the road, I can go, all right, there's 3 guys here, and I can snag one, and maybe the other guy falls, and the son of a bitch never falls, and then it screws my strategy up. And I like to just bang them both out, get the guys that I want, and then I'll see once we get down to the end. I'm the same way with Dynasty. I'd like the beginning of it.
Yeah.
In redraft though, I'm always an end. Like I picked 110. I want 110 because here's the thing: a lot of people will get into Scott Fishbowl that have never played in Scott Fishbowl, and they will make a super polarizing "I'm the smartest guy in the room" pick, and I just want to whoop. I'll just take the value.
That's right.
Let me catch whichever quarterback fell, or Amon-Ra St. Brown, or whoever the hell I'm going to take. I don't know who I'm going to take, but I don't know what it is. It's like the middle just it always disappoints me. Randy's a middle of the road guy too. He always picks like 106. Can't do it.
I'm nervous, man. Because when I run I've been in a few mocks. I'm trying to get a little bit of idea by looking at these early ADP, but the ADP can be so wonky. I saw in one league, Justin Jefferson went to 310.
Stupid.
That was it's just insanity.
Just
So some
stupid.
leagues make the ADP for these type of tournaments where they come in bunches. Like we've literally had like the live drafts, but the real party starts tomorrow. So the ADP, I kind of stay away from that and kind of craft my own plan. I hate being in the middle because I feel like you can get double sniped. It could be people at the ends. They're okay getting, and this is desperate is not the right word, Jerry, but like they're willing to reach because they know they have a long time to go. So I mean, there's times where you can get sniped on the way up and sniped on the way back, being in the middle, and it's just I'm ultra nervous. But I wanted to play into the third round reversal, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, but it seems to me that this year the Konami code quarterbacks are going to be super valuable. Super valuable. And I want to make sure I get one. I think a lot of people are going to get cute and they're going to say they can punt on quarterback. I think that these Konami code guys, these guys that are going to get the rushing bonuses with the first downs, the carries, the design runs where, 5-6 carries, that's 2 or 3 extra points. I think that's going to be massive, and I need to get one and put myself in the top 6. It keeps me from having to get too crazy. So we'll see, though. We'll have to check back and see.
Yeah, dude, I was looking at the MFL ADP. They had quarterbacks so far down there, which makes me happier that I'm at the end, because if people are just going to go based off of that and they think that it's going to be just some dramatic shift, no. Like I'm sorry. It's still a super flex league. I still have to start 2 of them. I'm going to want tons of them. So I'm just going to scoop them. We'll see how it goes. I mean, that's it. That's all we can do. Here's to hoping that I don't draft another Le'Veon Bell and it's, he doesn't fart directly in my face like he did in 2019 or whenever the hell that was. But what a heartbreak. Yeah, like your first time. Because like the first 2 years that me and Randy, like even before we started the podcast, and I was like writing for a website, and then we started the podcast and I never got in. And then I finally get in and I get the 101 because I didn't even pick the 101. I just got put at the 101.
Did they let you do the Kentucky Derby back then? It was probably just like random a little bit. Right?
Yeah, it was just random. And I went to Michigan State. Le'Veon Bell went to Michigan State. Running backs were all the rage.
Stud.
Yeah, and like
he was a mega stud.
And he had all the bonuses and everything. And I was like, we're doing this. Idiot. I'm an idiot, Matty. So all right, what kind of businesses we got? So here's the thing. As everybody in the chat and everybody who has ever listened to the Dynasty WarZone knows, putrid host. Never hosted it. That's why Randy does it, because he can keep it on the tracks and I will just end up rambling. So I have absolutely zero control about anything we do. So what kind of businesses we got going on? We got some ads for us. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the Podfather coming out.
Yes, we do. Actually, today's ad, it's going to be something that you're going to want to get when you play Dynasty, which is the Breakout Finder. So let's hear from Mr. Matt Kelly in the Breakout Finder.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools: a database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on Player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
It's $5. Less than Starbucks.
Way
But
less.
I'm with the absolute best breakouter that there ever has been in Matthew Kiwoom. Is it actually Matthew?
It's my proper name's Matty Kiwoom for sure.
Okay.
Matthew
Well,
J.
I always call Randy Randall, so I don't know what it is. I like to do the formal legal names. So we're gonna talk startup drafts. It's sort of startup season, I would say. We're well done with rookie season, and now we're just in degenerate season where we have already done our rookie drafts. And after Scott Fishbowl, we're all gonna get bored because we're all degens, and we're gonna just start drafting again.
Yep.
Now, I'm not a best baller. Some people just inject that underdog right into their arm. It's not my style. I like Dynasty, so I do startups. So let's talk about what you do. Are you a person that like I'm winning it or I'm punting it or I don't even care? I don't even go in with a strategy. What is the Matthew Kiwoom genius when it's that time?
I would say I kind of have, you get enough of these, you do a little of everything. You want to kind of try your hand at a different strategy, kind of go about it different ways, because you want to roster certain players, and usually certain builds kind of dictate where you go. But I would say predominantly I'm a win now guy. Predominantly, like when I look through most of my leagues, I would say more than probably 60%, 70% we're built with the win now idea. Looking to, well, it gets a little, I guess it gets a little nuanced here because I try to get future picks. I feel like future picks come so cheap in startups, but the idea is to not punt a year. So, for instance, earlier we said, I like to trade back 5 to 101, whatever. You can usually go from the 101 or the one wherever 5, 6, 7 picks, get a future first, and still win now. You're still in the first round. You're still attacking the draft. You're still to take win now players a little bit later. But what I do throughout every single draft is I am very cautious about getting quarterbacks early. That's the only thing that I do not play around with. I go for the quarterbacks early, whether it be first, second round guys. I want that flexibility because regardless of winning now or winning later, if you don't have the quarterbacks in Superflex startups, you're always kind of you're kind of just chasing yourself in circles. You're not really able to kind of, 10 toes down, make a move. And then we'll see. I'll let it go. Sometimes it's a little fluid where it's, I got a couple firsts. Maybe I didn't draft in the first round. I got a second, a third, and I got a couple of firsts for next year. And I'm not really getting the elite of the elite, but if you get lucky on like a Kyler Murray, if you get lucky on a Jaden Daniels, then you're winning now, and you could do that. So I like going quarterbacks. Jordan Love was a big target of mine in last year's startups. That paid off for me pretty strongly, I would say. Even buying in Dynasty was awesome move getting Jordan Love last year because he did kind of just light the world on fire immediately. It was QB5, I think, which was very impressive. So I like to do that. And then I kind of let it, there's a few picks there, Jerry, they're crucial picks. I call them like the fork in the road picks, where it's, if I take this guy, we're not farting around. We're not fucking around. We're going to win now. If I take this guy, I want to make sure that I kind of lean youth. I want to make sure that I keep upside in mind. I kind of want to make the decisions there. So I kind of go quarterbacks. I'm assuming you're a sensible guy, handsome guy. I assume you go quarterback early as well in Dynasty startups.
Always. Listen, I don't ever go into a Dynasty startup with any sort of idea in mind of what I'm going to do. I do let it play out, except for one golden rule. I will take a quarterback in the first round every single time. I don't care what pick I have. I'm not messing around. Mm-hmm. And I should say that we are going to talk about tight end premium super flex. It's sort of the standard in Dynasty right now. But if you
Yeah.
have questions for single QB or what you do with tight ends that are not in tight end premium, I'm fine. We're here. We're gonna have a good time. But always a quarterback. Because what happens if it's 2 or 3 years ago and you've got Sam Darnold or Ryan Tannehill or crumb bums and shoe clerks that aren't worth a wet fart right now. You're playing this game for as long as this league will go. Like I've got leagues that are almost 10 years. I've got some leagues that just started and everything in between. I mean, my first startup, Andrew Luck was in it. Andrew Luck's been retired for like 5 years or something. Like you want to set yourself up for sure. And quarterback is the spot to do it. And they're not going to get any cheaper for you. So I'm always going to do that. I do try to lean to win now, like where I'll full sell, because it was 2 off seasons ago, I think. The popular strategy was to sort of do like a punt, like you do 1 year and you suck and you get all the picks and blah 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 blah. So I took a chunk of teams. I think I took probably 7 or 8 of my startups, or even I traded my teams away because I wanted to try this strategy. I wanted to see if it worked because it's fun. It is fun to build a team from absolutely the ashes.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So I tried it and fell on my face. It's just, I'm not saying you can't do it. One of the teams ended up making the championship. One of the leagues that I did it in, it's sort of mine and Randy's big league that we do. I did it, and then one of the oldest friends of the Dynasty WarZone, Matt Dent, he did it as well, but he did it better than me. Like his team is good. I think he won, or maybe he's gotten second and third or second and second the last couple of years. So he's been just printing money. And that first year we were both gunning for just which one of us was going to be absolutely dog crap. And that set me back, because it's one thing if you're zigging when everybody's zagging, but if multiple people are doing it, you are so fucked. Like because then you're competing for all the picks. You don't necessarily have all the young, talent with high potential because somebody else is doing the exact same thing. And then if their picks are better than yours, or they hit on a Puka Nakua or whoever the hell they pick on, you're just in such a rough shape. And then you're in a multiple year rebuild. And there is nothing more stagnant than when you get into the off season and you look at a roster and you have, maybe you have 3 or 4 first round picks, which is awesome in a rebuild. Don't get me wrong. That's what you want to have. But then you look at the rest of the roster and you go, these 3 or 4 picks aren't going to do a damn thing for me. So I'm with you. I tried that strategy and I am still trying to work my way out of it with those leagues. So now I will never do it. Never. The punt is just not something I'm going to do. So I'm going to play safe. I'm going to get my high end guys those first couple of rounds, whether I trade down, whether I trade up, doesn't matter. I'm in general not a trade up guy. I did that a lot early in my dynasty life, and I felt like I was just flushing value down the toilet just over and over again when I could get a guy that's just comparable. They're just slightly worse in value, and then I'm losing picks for it, or I'm losing 2 rounds of draft stock, and it just has never really worked out for me. So that's usually not going to be my strategy. But nope. I'll just get my high end guys, and then once I get into that round where it's all the old running backs, when Derrick Henry's sitting there, when Joe Mixon's sitting there, I'm going to take them, and then I know they're going to fall off soon. So I have no other choice but to commit to winning it. And I'm going to push all my chips in and just let it go that way.
I wonder, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I also feel like pivoting from a win now draft is way easier than the opposite. I've had leagues where, I would like, I think it was even just last year, my quarterbacks was Kirk Cousins and it was Aaron Rodgers, and it was totally meant to try to win now. And I had loaded up on win now players throughout the entire thing. And then Rodgers gets hurt, Cousins gets hurt, and I'm up Shit's Creek without a paddle, and none of these guys are really sellable. You can't pivot. You're kind of just stuck riding it out. And then you're kind of mortgaging the future because I was trying to plug the holes in my boat with future draft picks, and they didn't work out, and now I don't have any picks, and I don't have any players to trade. Whereas if you were to kind of have some youth to it, the win now strategy, the pivot, I think you could it's easier to make that pick. You're not completely lost if you go too hard. I guess I can really go either way. I started by saying it's easier to pivot with the win now because you can sell players. But I guess if there's a point of diminishing returns, whichever path you take. I guess is really what we're talking through here. So what do you like to do? Are you willing to pivot? Do you stick to a plan for a whole year? What's something that you like to do? Because I've tried to do the stick to your guns things, but I can't help it. Like, you want to win these fucking leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how late you are in the season, right? Like sometimes you just get that guy that just like Devontae Parker, like year 5, like he jumps up, he goes absolutely bananas, and
right,
maybe he was your wide receiver 3, and now all of a sudden you're winning more than you thought you were going to do. Should you pivot? Probably not, because you shouldn't trust Devontae Parker. And hey, guess what? Shouldn't have trusted Devontae Parker. But I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, more often than not, I'm going to try to stick to my guns.
Mm-hmm.
If I get to a point where, like, I was trying to win, like, let's say, like I mentioned Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon. Maybe Joe Mixon sucks. Like, he's in a new situation. CJ Stroud's there. He passes all over the field. Joe Mixon doesn't get the touchdowns. Derrick Henry's 31, 30 something. He's on a new team. Maybe he doesn't get all the touchdowns that he has been for the last half a decade. And then I'm in a bad spot. Like, am I going to try to win? No, absolutely not. Like,
right.
I have to pivot. That's why I'm always going to just go with the younger quarterback so I can be stable. I'm always going to have just one goonie at wide receiver too. Like, I am always Amon-Ra, usually CD Brown. Or CD Lamb. Jesus, Jerry, be a professional here.
That's a good idea. That's saying get one of CD Lamb or AJ Brown.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just terrible. I think I have more CD Lamb than I have anybody else, even close, honestly.
I was buying the shit out of CD Lamb last year for sure.
And it has done you wonders. And I got hillbilly setting off fireworks. So if you can hear it, I apologize. But my dog's probably hating it. But no, always a young quarterback, usually 2. You know what? Actually, I lied. I usually always go for my second quarterback. It's an old guy. It's a Matthew Stafford. It's a Aaron Rodgers, something like that. Because they're cheap, right? People hate him. Where do you get Matthew Stafford in a startup? 8th round, 9th round.
Yeah.
Okay, I've already got my core. Those picks are not going to be your long-term core. They never, ever, 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 ever are going to be. So I'm just plugging them in, trying to win right now. What do you do with tight end?
I usually just kind of wait. I usually wait.
I could kiss you right on the mouth.
Well, here's maybe this might take back that smooch though, Jay. I will get a little extra aggressive for Travis Kelce because he's the one that always sinks, and then at certain points I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go move up for Kelce. I did this one time. I did this strategy and I did not like it. It was such a hardo move, dude. I'll admit it now. It's a freaking hardo move, but in a startup, I made sure that I traded for the pick right after mine. I think it was the 3rd or 4th round. And I went Kelce and I went Andrews, thinking, oh, now I'm going to lock up tight end 1 and tight up 2 for the next couple of years. And then when Kelsey's gone, Mark Andrews goes right in there to tight end 1. Wasn't worth it. Stupid strategy. Again, complete hardo move in retrospect because Mark Andrews gets hurt. And even if he didn't get hurt, there was such an influx of tight end talent last year that it's completely saturated the position in a way that I don't think there's really a clear advantage, except for Kelce. I still think that guy's a difference maker at a position that doesn't have a ton of difference makers. But this year, I've just what's that?
How early are you going for Travis Kelce?
Now you can get him like 6th round. Now, as long as the TEP is under 1.5 or lower, 1.75, we see a massive jump for all of those guys. But now with, Dalton Kincaid getting drafted ahead of him, and, Brock Bowers is going ahead of him, and Sam Laporta, and even though those tight ends are younger, and I get the appeal of them, you're now paying for too much projection, because taking them in rounds 3 and 4 means that you have too much hope and wishes in your roster, in your build. Where Kelsey, when he gets to that 5th, 6th level, I feel like you can lock it in. His production last year, even in a down year, he was tight end 1 on a points per game basis. He was a monster throughout the entire season.
That's a down year.
And he was 16 yards shy of a 1,000-yard season. He missed the last game because they had playoff aspirations. But he also, people forget, he missed
one too.
He missed week 1, a game against the Lions. That game ended up being a bit of a dud, because what we didn't know at the time was, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Marvez Valdez-Scantling, they all sucked. The big drops in that game. That was the game where it was like, okay, Sky Moore's officially dead in Dynasty. Kadarius Toney's dead in Dynasty, and Pat Mahomes might be FUCK'd for the rest of the year with this wide receiver core. Whereas if Kelsey played in that game, I think we would have saw the Lions kind of do what they love to do, which is just absolutely move the ball around, and Kelsey would have been the difference maker for that point total to go up. Had he had a 100-yard game, 2 touchdowns, that's not unrealistic, which would have put him right there, boom, back there, solidified as your no doubt tight end 1. So I'm still in on Kelsey. The rest, I'll wait, because you can't tell me that, when we're looking at the tight end position, it looks a hell of a lot sexier at the top, but let me wait on Evan Ingram. Let me wait on a Pat Fryermuth. Let me go even deeper than that. Take a Luke Musgrave. I'm not looking really to do it. Extra tight end premium, like I said, 1.75. Because I don't know about you, Jerry. I don't think even 1.5 makes a big enough difference for me to overpay for tight end. 1.75, 2 point. Okay, we can start chit chatting, and maybe the younger guys, the Trey McBrides, they become a little bit more, part of my French, a little more horny for those guys with that premium. But right now, player profile, you got to rank Travis Kelce tight end 10 in Dynasty, and that's not reflective of my personal rankings, because I just give me the locked in value at a position where all of a sudden now we're just going to believe that it's reliable. If you've been playing as long as we have, Jerry, you realize that this position sucks.
And it has sucked for a long time. Even the guys that are really good. No, I'm all aboard Travis Kelce. It's sort of become popular to not like him, which is absolutely flabbergasting. Like
people like to make fantasy harder than it has to be.
They really do. They really do. Like, I'm sorry. It's a position that is unreliable in every situation, right? Sam Laporta is your tight end 1. What if Sam Laporta has 700 yards and instead of having 9 touchdowns, he has 5? Totally feasible. Jameson Williams can do better. Jahmyr Gibbs is there. David Montgomery is there. Okay, and how much did you spend on Sam Laporta? I mean, it depending on what your premium is, potentially a first-round pick or an early second-round pick.
He's going as high as these guys. When you looked at Andrews, at the height of Andrews or Kelsey, at least there was a laundry list of production where you could bet on it. Where it's like you said, Laporta last year, let's just say he goes up in receiving yards. He goes from 899 or 889 to 950, but he has 2 receiving touchdowns as opposed to 10. Let's just say he doesn't get 120 targets. Let's say he gets 100, which is great. And he catches 72 of them. It's just, we have 1 season. I'm not willing to pay the price after 1 season.
No, and I'm with you. And Harry the Snowman, you're my dog, just for the record. But like you said, what if defensive coordinators adjust in the offseason and they start shadowing these guys? Because now they're not catching you by surprise. The Trey McBrides of the world, the Sam Laportas of the world, nobody's going to be surprised when they're the ones kicking your teeth in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, it's absolutely worth it. I always wait on tight ends, but I hate tight ends. And that's my own personal bias from what I have seen. They're just not
Yeah.
reliable long-term assets. The Gary Barnages of the world and everybody else who has broken everybody's heart over the years, it just happens over and over and over again. They take forever to get good. David Njoku, welcome to the party, bud. I'm glad to see you were
Forever.
there.
Yeah.
We took you in the first round of rookie drafts like 5 years ago. This is the first time we've really seen you ever actually helping people win. Evan Ingram, love Evan Ingram. Been about Evan Ingram for too long, and too many of those years he made me look bad and he didn't help me. It's a situation that is in such flux. The spikes and the valleys are just too vast for me to rely on it with an early pick. I just can't do it. I need some stability. And also, we're talking about, dude, like with Sam Laporta, 889 yards. That's what we're talking about right now. The only reason they're even relevant is because we have to make them score more points when they do things in our leagues, not because they're guys that, like CD Lamb, they can drop 1,700 yards on you. No, absolutely not. But now we're going to inject a little bit of rookie love into them. What do you do with rookies in your startups?
It
Are you a
depends.
drafter? Are you a guy that, because you said you like to win now, which makes me think that you are less likely to go after most rookies.
I don't get a lot of the rookies in my startups. I really don't. Running backs, I will get more of because they're the ones that tend to fall. Obviously, your Bijans and your Jahmyr Gibbs, those are the exceptions. Those big, first round guys. But like this year, I mean, you're getting Jalen Wright at a good price in startup drafts. So I like Audric Estime to emerge as a guy that gets significant opportunities as early as 2024 for the Denver Broncos. So you can get rookies late at running back. For this year specifically, I'll say I'm all over the Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison trio. You can't keep me off of those guys. I don't care if I have to wait a season for Rome Odunze. I am so enamored with the talent. And then Malik Neighbors, I think that guy is going to ball you don't go to the strip club with thousands of dollars making it rain like he is with that grill. And if you're not expecting to perform in the field, you can't be a dunce after getting picked 6th overall by the New York Football Giants. He's going to see 120 targets, Jerry. I want him all day. Brock Bowers, I love the talent, but in a startup, it's like you burnt me with Njoku. You certainly burnt me with O.J. Howard. And then you burnt me with Kyle Pitts. I mean, our rookie drafts. Remember, Kyle Pitts was going ahead of the Slim Reaper, Jalen Waddle. He went ahead of Jamar Chase in some drafts. No, thank you. No, thank you on the rookie tight ends in startups. I never come away with the rookie tight ends in startups. Last year, I did get some Sam Laporta because it was just kind of in who gives a fuck land in terms of his ADP. But we're not seeing that this year. And the guys like Ben Sinnott and, Jatavian Sanders, sure, I have them, but the shares I got of those guys usually came through the rookie draft, not through my startups. I tend to shy away from rookies in startups overall. I would say the philosophy is the difference makers are the difference makers, but those are obvious. They come with the cost. They come with the risk, but you know it. But the Xavier Worthies, the Brian Thomases, the Lad McConkeys, you got to take the risk. The opportunity cost is still really high. And for me, the only way I'm leaning towards those players is if, when I talk about the fork in the road picks, I went with the Jackson Smith and Jigba over the Hollywood Brown. I went with the Zay Flowers over the Devontae Adams. We're just kind of spitballing ranges here, but that if I've done that, then yeah, I will kind of be a little bit more accepting of the price for these rookies. But overall, no, I can't really get into it. It's just too much uncertainty, and the price seems insulated now. But come Halloween, if they're not playing, those guys see such depression in their values when the points matter. That's the biggest factor of Dynasty that I've come to learn over the years. It's easy to convince people of stuff when there's no numbers attached, when you don't see points per game, you don't see touchdown regression, you don't see the numbers. You could just kind of convince yourself of the story of this player in 2024 or beyond. But once everything's flying, and I'm sorry, I'm not giving you a first for Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm 3-1, and he's averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game in PPR. That guy's tough.
Yeah. No, once we're not comparing them as how fast they ran a 40, what jersey they wore, all that kind of stuff. When the money's on the line, when it's time for glory, when it's time I got to beat my friend who's been talking shit for 10 years. Maybe his name's on the trophy. Maybe it's never been on the trophy and I want to keep it that way. I'm with you. I'll take stabs later. Once I have my core set. I'm usually not drafting a rookie as a part of my core. Those first, usually, 4 or 5 guys, which are usually very reliable. Like I'm with you that I like Malik Neighbors. I'm in on him. I think he's going to be successful. I don't want to risk my startup on the fact that I could be wrong about him, because I've been wrong about guys like that. And so I just tend to lean away from the risk early. But like you said, like those running backs, like Esteme, like what has Javonte Williams done? He's been okay. Like he's been good. I like Javonte Williams. Like I'll take a stab on Javonte Williams in that same sort of spot. But like once we're later in those drafts and I'm just rounding out, why am I going to draft a guy who can just hit a single for me in those rounds? Like either I can get rid of him and I can open that roster spot up for somebody else, or I want to be hitting a double and a triple and just clobbering it with Puka Nacua. So someone like him, if he ends up being the starter, where'd you get him in a startup? 9th round, 10th round, 11th round, wherever the hell you got him. And all of a sudden he's a starting running back in the NFL. That boy's got first round rookie. So even if you don't believe in the man and you don't believe that he's going to continue in it, you can still profit from him. So I do like that idea when it comes to rookies. Take my stabs, but like quarterbacks, like I really don't foresee a situation where I'm going to take any of the rookies. Like I maybe Caleb Williams if he slipped if I got 111 and everybody's been going quarterbacks or something, and I believe in him. Bro's got all the talent in the world. He's got all the talent around him in the damn world. He does not have history on his side, though. And as a man who has ungodly amounts of student loan debt because of history, I tend to trust it a little bit. But like relying on it, and then if I'm wrong, I gotta suck for a couple of years, and I'm just gonna piss value away, because we've seen so many guys just. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been insulated. He's never been the absolute GOAT prospect, Andrew Luck-esque, but he's still been fine. And that elite profile has sort of insulated him, so he's still very valuable. Don't get me wrong. But even guys like that can be just vanilla ice cream. And we could see that with anybody. So it's just tough for me to rely on it. And maybe that's because I like, like I'll all my risk is like if I'm playing poker, like I go to a casino, me and Randy like talk about Texas Hold'em quite a bit because we've both done it quite a bit. That's my risk. Mine's not with my babies. Not when I'm scrolling on Sleeper and I see all those teams. Those are my babies. Those are my.
I need to see green bars, Jerry.
Yes,
I need green bars.
Yes,
Nothing makes me more depressed than seeing red bars.
Yeah, or no bar because they got the whole damn thing. No, that's terrible. No,
I guess there's a question in the chat I want to bring up real quick.
Shoot.
Talk about Josh Downs and Tank Dell were awesome last year, so we're not taking the chances again. See, this is what I was talking about when people they become detached from the statistics. Where go look at Josh Downs, he looked great in terms of being a prospect, but he's wide receiver 51 on points per game basis. He wasn't helping anyone. So if you took him last year late. And now they bring in AD Mitchell. What do you? It's kind of just a roster clogger, in my opinion. I think the risk is there. And then Tank Dell, if you didn't sell him while he was at his peak, I think you're kind of left holding the bag. I don't think anyone's expecting him to even repeat those boom weeks from last year, given the addition of Stephon Diggs and the confidence that they gave in Nico Collins, giving him a ton of money, bringing in guys like Joe Mixon. So it's not that it's not worth taking some shots on, but also I would say that those players last year were going around, guys that you're probably not all that excited about anyway. So it was a fair price for those guys, especially you talk about those were third round NFL picks. They were second, third round rookie picks in rookie drafts. So the startup price was super low. But to bring it to this year, like I'm not taking a Troy Franklin, where he's going. Give me Jahan Doxson. Give me a guy that has some history of production, now has the quarterback upgrade that we come to like, or even later, we see a lot of kind of shots we take, but give me Gabe Davis-Lee. At least he has history of spike weeks. So this is what I'm talking about is, I want to take a couple of the guys, a couple of the young guys that are cheap, like the Josh Downs, like the Tank Dell, but let's not act like these guys were game changers in Dynasty. Tank Dell got hurt, so you missed out on a lot of the year. And I know that that's part of the game, so it's not like he gets a knock for that or anything. But again, Josh Downs didn't help you win. Neither did Tank Dell when it mattered most. So if you want to take the shots on them, I'm cool with it, but also be ready to sell when they're at peak market.
I think that's probably the smartest thing you said, because that's the thing about Dynasty players. We get married to our players too much. There is opportunities to profit week after week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to just be in the off season. Take the opportunities that are presented to itself and profit. As far as Josh Downs, I might have a share across my however many leagues I have. Not many. Tank Dell, I probably got a couple. I think I'll probably still hold on to him. I'm not going to be able to get the value, like you said. Like for what he was in the short amount of time that he was, sort of like Christian Watson. That's what he was. Like Christian Watson had that stretch where he went absolutely bananas and set the world on fire, and that's what Tank Dell did. We haven't seen Watson repeat it. Is there a chance that Tank Dell ever repeats it? I don't know. Like I would have been more. No, not I would have been. I was more in on Tank Dell before Nico Collins got a big fat paycheck.
Huge.
Because I thought there was going to be an opportunity that he could have been the guy that could have won that rollout. Stephon Diggs is going to get his because he's getting an absurd amount of money and he's been doing it for a decade and yada, 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 yada. He's not sexy. He's just good. And there was a chance that Tank Dell could have been that guy and he could have been the future with CJ Stroud, but then the money went to Nico Collins, and I have to use that information. Whether I love Nico Collins or not, doesn't matter. The team just showed me that they love him. And clearly they wouldn't do that if CJ Stroud didn't love him. Bingo. Which means he's going to dial in on that man. But I'm also not going to sell Tank Dell. I'm chilling with him. We're gonna vibe, and if he does have a couple of those big ass weeks, we'll try and
vibes are.
Yeah, we'll send a later rookie pick, try and get a late first or something. We'll just kick that can down the road a little bit.
Tank Dell's a guy that I love the prospect, so I'm with you. I'm not selling because I don't believe in selling low if I don't believe that I'm holding on to a ticking time bomb, and I don't think that Tank Dell is a ticking time bomb. I think there'll be opportunities where his value shall go up, but I'm not selling low on a guy like Tank Dell. No way. I believe in the prospect. Now, Josh Downs, if I have him, give me a 25 third.
Yeah,
I don't see a path to having much.
And I don't care about thirds. If a third fell out of my pocket, I wouldn't bend down and pick it up. But I'm with you. I'll take a third over Josh Downs for me personally. But and as far as the injury thing for Tank Dell, look at me. Do I look like a big man? I'm not a big man. I'm a little fella. I'm like the same size as Tank Dell. So yes, dear old Tank Dell is in better shape than Gerald is for sure. Don't want to surprise you there. But also, I don't have a job where I get crushed by the absolute specimens of athletic ability on this planet not soccer, not basketball, not any of it. American football has the specimens of athletic ability, and he has to get crushed by them. How often is a human being that is my size going to be sustainable out there? I don't think very often. So he's a perfect opportunity that he will have those weeks where he goes bananas, and Twitter's going to save every video of those 60-yard passes from CJ Stroud, because CJ Stroud is very polarizing and very popular too. So he's going to get all the play in the world. And if Tank Dell's the one that gets that, sell it. Thank you.
That's right. Sell when you can. Those moments are big. It's funny that, you don't try to use yourself as a reference point for professional athletes, because if you do,
that's because most of them are not my size either. But
right. But this is where I'm going with this. When there's indicators, I think it's okay. The reason why I drafted 0 Kenny Pickett is because Kenny Pickett and I have the same size hands. Okay. And when I go play football, we play football with the boys. You throw a pigskin around.
obviously,
If we have, the regulation size ball and it's a little wet out or a little cold, we can't really grip it as much as, as I'd want. So if I can't grip it, someone with the same size hands with me probably can't grip it. And he's getting chased around by some big fellas. Guys that I don't play with when I play backyard
next
football.
level analysis.
When you're looking, you're like, man, I understand that I have a tough time throwing football when it's cold, when it's raining. This guy ain't going to be, was he going to have an extra hard grip? I'm working my hands. I have a pretty strong grip, and I can't chuck a football. If we go right now, Jerry, if it's wet or it's cold and we have a real, NFL regulation size ball, I'm not throwing I ain't throwing nice spirals at you. I'm going to be throwing some ducks. I'm probably going to be short throwing. So sometimes, it's okay when you're as tall as a wide receiver and you ain't tall. Or you have hand size of a quarterback when you understand, I don't throw it the best when it's cold and windy. You can use it. I think it's good. I think it's fine.
See, this is why we are just a dynamic duo, my friend. All right, if you were going to tell yourself 10 years ago, Matty, don't do this in a startup draft, what are you telling him?
This is when you would have made so much money at this too, because Superflex is now the standard, but it wasn't always the standard. It became the standard. It took time. And had I went back, if I was back and I was able to tell myself this, don't fuck around at quarterback, I would have won a bunch of leagues back then when it was just starting. Then I could have. So if back then, I would have said to myself, don't fuck around at quarterback. Don't get cute and take a receiver. Oh, I can get this there. No. You need foundational quarterbacks, Superflex. Don't fuck around and find out.
God, just absolutely brilliant, my friend. I mean, I would tell myself, don't draft Le'Veon Bell in the Scott Fishbowl because that was stupid. don't draft Corey Coleman. Don't draft Corey Coleman 103 in a rookie draft. That'll backfire for you, Jerry. Don't trust Hakeem Butler. I got plenty of these. I could do a whole podcast on just shit that I have done that was so stupid.
You just brought up a name. I mean, Corey Coleman. I thought that guy was going to be so good. Corey Davis. Apparently, don't trust Corey's. Don't be out there trusting Corey's at wide receiver. Because I thought Corey Davis was a no-doubter. Draft capital, outrageous college production, size, speed. He gets to Tennessee and just doesn't fire like I thought. I thought we were seeing a stud. Nope. So you're right. I have a lot of those too. It's a lot of those.
I drafted him too. So
Dorial Green Beckham is not going to be the next Calvin Johnson. Matt Jones is not the next Matt Forte. I got a lot of these. There was a lot of bad drafts.
Yeah, there's a good one. There's a lot of PTSD here.
Here's a good one. Darwin Thompson will never be a thing. Don't take him with the 107. There's a lot of nuggets. Yeah.
That was Kansas City, right? Darwin Thompson. Yeah, yep. I remember that offseason.
Yep. 5'7", 162 pounds, but a lightning bug didn't do anything.
Yeah. I think I would just say it's not fantasy. So if you're new to this game, don't treat it like fantasy. You're going to want stable assets. I think the number one thing I would tell you, pay attention to people's contracts. That is the
I like
one
that, yeah.
thing that I didn't do for the longest time. There is a almost direct correlation with how Bishop Sankey. Why do you do that, Jeremy? That's just
That was a
mean,
great quote. I
man.
had to pull it up.
That's mean.
Bishop Sankey, I thought was ham.
Darius Geis. We could do this all day, but
Oh.
no. Paying attention to the people's contracts is almost directly correlated with how stable of an asset they are, how
Yep.
long you are going to be able to rely on them. Not always. Russell Wilson just got paid and he got cut, and you know that there are outliers to the situation. Pay attention to people's contracts. It'll at least tell you about what their role is going to be on a team, because that's what the team is telling you their role is. How much money did they get? How much does that compare to the other people in their position, and for how long? We play a game where we don't know anything. I don't talk to any NFL players. I don't talk to any NFL coaches. I'm not on any NFL sidelines ever. I have to do the best with the information that I can, and that is a piece of the information, and you need to consume as much of that as you can if you want to make your friends cry and win this game. And then don't have Aaron Rodgers get injured 4 plays into the season, because I mean, sometimes that'll hurt you too.
No. Well, yeah. If you lose any type of player that has any meaningful role in your team, you lose them 4 snaps in, you got a one-way ticket to Foxville. I'll tell you that. I would say if I have a golden rule, if I have something, or if I just want to piggyback on what you're saying, I think a lot of times it's natural for us in the fantasy world to go against the NFL because they shit on the fantasy gamer every chance that they get. So there's this natural, like, wag the finger to the franchise type thing. But I think a lot of us fantasy gamers should rely on these billion-dollar companies and these billion-dollar resources to tell us stuff, because money talks, contracts talk, draft capital talks. The NFL draft, we say it all the time, is the one time where these NFL teams cannot lie to us. Their actions say everything that you're looking to find. And I think that's not just, relative to the draft. I think that Nico Collins getting the contract is a very strong indication that when they sat down with CJ Stroud and said, "What do you think about Nico?" He said, "I want him forever." And they said, "We'll make it happen." Or if they bring in a Stephon Diggs, I think that was them telling us that they don't have faith in Tank Dell being a reliable week in and week out everyday producer, that they are too a little concerned about the size and ability to stay healthy. These teams tell us things. And when they tell us, don't be an idiot and ignore, just because, we don't want to, we don't want to hate. We want to hate on them. I get it. I want to shit on Arthur Smith too when he makes bonehead moves and then says, "What, this isn't fantasy?" Like, all right, well, we wouldn't have made those stupid moves, Arthur Smith. You're the one that made those less than brilliant play calls and game plans. But that's we could vent about that for a whole podcast. But yeah, I would just say, let the NFL franchises, these teams have billions of dollars of resources that they use to make money. Let that be indicators of some of the moves that you make. If they're talking, listen a little bit.
I mean, they don't always make the right decisions, but you got to listen to them because they are the ones that dictate the rules of the game that we play. So I'm with you. If I was going to give somebody else a piece of advice, don't trade just to trade. We all get bored. We all send trades, and usually when you do it when you're bored, it backfires. You got to have a plan. You got to stick to the plan and ride it out. If you are in the 13th round of your startup and there's one guy that you've been looking at, don't go overpaying for him just because you're bored and you want that guy. If you miss out on a 13th round pick and you're 140 picks into the draft, don't spend too much money on that guy, please. That's all I'm saying. But if there's one person that I couldn't spend enough money on, Matty Kiwoom, player profiler, legend, the number one fan of one Martina Sinclair. Good show, buddy.
It was a blast. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm looking up at the top left corner. I see the time. Like, really? We've been going for that long? It's too easy with you, brother. It's too easy. You're too easy to look
we
at.
try.
It's-
Well,
it's-
once we
it's
started going,
restaurant.
it took me a little bit to get going. You know, I just
Well,
don't like the format.
You're
Well,
the
I don't.
ship right now. You're leading the ship. You're the captain seat.
I know. I don't. I just. It's the formalities of podcasts that I'm just uncomfortable in doing. I just want to talk football, and that's why once we just start rolling and we're just jibber jabbering about nonsense and everything that we do, that's when I always feel my most comfortable. That's why we have fun. And every time you've been on the War Zone, when I came on your show, the game plan, you know, we're just spitballing. We're just
yapping.
just the boys. Just the boys yapping, man.
And you know what, too? I will say this, and it's a compliment that, you know, I don't say to everybody, but, you know, you in Memphis, like you guys you're in the streets. And when you're actually about this fantasy life, it's you don't need to be, it's not that hard. Like it's not hard to talk it when you're actually doing it. When you're actually out there playing Dynasty and you're making trades and you're formulating game plans, all that stuff. You know, I think for me, it's a big deal to do all that good stuff and make sure that, you know, I don't know how to put it.
I'm with
I
you.
don't know. I just kind of lost it at the end.
No, flawless. No, and Randy will be back next week. You know, because Randy's a DGen, and I say that with my whole chest from the bottom of my heart. There is not a person that cares more about this kind of stuff than him. So I know it hurts his soul. I'm guessing he's got a long trip back from Charleston, South Carolina to Indianapolis. He'll probably read this. He'll probably text me that I'm some 4-letter words that I'm not going to say. Maybe I'll let you in on it next. Maybe that might be a Patreon only podcast.
That's a Patreon only, yes, sir. Yeah.
But so he'll be back. What do you got coming up? What are you doing? Tell the people where you're at, what you're doing. Most of them know. I've seen every single one of these faces on your show, my show, Podfather's show, everybody's show. So they all know you, but whatever you got in the woodwork.
At Matty Kiwoom on X, check that out, thedraftrankings.com. It's a bunch of stuff heading out. And then here at Player Profiler, the game plan, trade gods, all that's coming back this week. Your boy's back from vacation, so it's back to get on the grind, if you will. So yeah, but if you want to just go follow me on Twitter at Matty Kiwoom, and you'll get the announcements of what shows are coming out when, who guests, all that good stuff.
Follow them everywhere, man. What else is there to say? So, my name is Jerry Sinclair. You can see me here. I'm not really on Twitter anymore. I creep. You know what? When I want to see Matty Kiwoom podcast, I just go to YouTube anyway, and that's where I'm at. But here at the Dynasty WarZone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.